This show is brought to you by PivX, private instant verified transactions. With its groundbreaking zero-coin staking and masternodes, PivX is the top privacy currency. Feel free to trade some on Binance or Bittrex. And for more information, go to www.pivx.org. Welcome back to ITK Crypto. Now, we've got our news roundup coming up soon, but today, much better. We've got a very special guest. We've got Justin from Ark.io. Justin, how are you?
Hey, I'm great, and it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we're delighted. And of course, it's me, Tom White, and Cryptosi's here as well, aren't you, Cryptosi?
Yep, I'm absolutely delighted to have Justin on from Ark. It's a massive project, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to him.
Well, yeah, you say it's a massive project. Justin, just tell us, first of all, who you are, and before we get on to Ark, what your working background was before getting into crypto.
Yeah, sure. So before I was into crypto, I have a lot of experience in laboratory work for infrared photonics. I actually became a published inventor by the age of 22 for integrated readout circuit arrays. I was a co-author of a patent for that. And that was a long time ago. So now I'm involved with some other things, sales, marketing, advertising, that kind of thing. And a lot of writing stuff too. I develop applications in a language called OpenG, which is like a visual representation of the code. So that's what got me into computer science and programming, because I didn't have a lot of classical training with written coding languages. But G really helped me get my brain around how coding works and how to run applications. And because of that, I got interested with Ark because its approach is very similar. It wants to make blockchains very easy for more people so that more people can participate in this technological revolution.
Tell us a little bit more about that then, about Ark.io, and just go into more detail on how it works.
Yeah, sure. So you guys mentioned earlier that it's a massive project, which is far from untrue. In fact, it's a common saying that Ark is constantly trying to bite off more than it can chew, which I think is good. In this space, I think it's important to dream as big as possible. And Ark wants to achieve so many different goals, but it basically breaks down to three main approaches. The first one is that we want to make blockchains easy for everyone involved, easy for users to interact with blockchains and get started with crypto, easy for developers to deploy their own blockchains and customize them any way they wish, and easy for everyone to interact with other blockchains because Ark wants to connect different blockchains together.
Cryptosi, I'm just going to bring you in here now. I mean, Justin's saying that Ark is a big project and people, accusing him of trying to do too much. I mean, can you do too much?
I would have to agree with Justin. I don't think doing too much is a bad thing. Sometimes you'll get stability issues if you're releasing new code on top of new code. But with a project like Ark and their meteoric rise, it's been steeped in some pretty good code and some good stability. So I think he's being quite modest when he's saying they've bit off too much more than they can chew. I think they've done a pretty amazing job. One of the main things I would say about Ark, which is a testament to how good it is just how many forks there are on the DPoS style of blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier that Ark is steeped in some great code, and it's interesting that you say that because Ark did originally start as a fork of the Lisk code base, which was a fork of the Crypti code base. And those two projects have their own kind of approach to different problems. But as time went on, Ark crew kind of realized that the code was a little bit unoptimized for Ark's specific goals. And so what Ark did was, again, in the vein of taking as big of bites as possible, decided to scrap the entire code base and redo the entire thing from scratch to build a brand new core using the Ark engineers. And that took a while, but the deployment was successful on the mainnet as of early December. And right now we are running on brand new code that we have created. We've also partnered with BugCrowd for pen testing and other bug detection, as well as running a GitHub bounty program so that anyone can join in, work on the code, and improve it. But all of the Ark Delegates, we'll get into that a little bit later, and all of the community is really pleased with the new code base, and it's running quite smoothly.
Yeah, well, it seems so. And could you tell us a little bit more about DPoS and why it's become so popular?
Yeah, of course. So delegated proof of stake is, I guess you could say, a next generation of thinking beyond something like proof of work. So with Bitcoin, you've got proof of work where computers are solving complex math problems, which takes up a lot of energy and computing power, which provides the security of the blockchain. Now, with delegated proof of stake, instead of doing that, it's more like the users of the network choosing the nodes that run and add new blocks to the blockchain and process transactions and get those transaction fees and stuff. So the users are actually electing nodes to do this. And in delegated proof of stake, they're called delegates, which are people or teams of people who run these nodes. In Ark, it's 51 delegates that are forging new Ark, creating new Ark tokens. There are other nodes called relay nodes that are not forging new Ark, but maintain copies of the ledger and increase the network resilience. So delegated proof of stake offers some key advantages being energy efficiency, but also increased performance. So with Ark, the block times are very, very fast. You can send Ark to anyone in 8 seconds. It's an 8-second block time as opposed to Bitcoin, something like 10 minutes or so. And with Ark, you can also optimize the decentralization because the users can vote out or squeeze out delegates that are not in alignment with the vision or acting erratically or badly.
That's quite interesting because looking at your most recent advert, it claims that Ark allows you to build your own blockchain in under an hour. So with these blockchains, do they live on top of the Ark blockchain, similar to like tokens in Ethereum, or are they completely separate?
That's a great question. And it touches on a key tenet of the Ark vision, which is that we feel having all the services and all of the use cases running on one blockchain isn't probably the best move because scaling is a concern. This came about with Ethereum in late 2017 with the dApp CryptoKitties, which brought the entire blockchain to a halt. That was, one somewhat popular app that was being used on Ethereum. But you also have all of these other projects running on Ethereum, which depend on Ethereum being stable to execute their smart contracts and run their businesses. And so this problem was foreseen by the Ark crew in late 2016, and they set out to create a multi-chain system. So the multi-chain system has the Ark mainnet as the center hub, which is a lean, mean mainnet and does not have a virtual machine running on it because we don't want to bloat out the main network. We use what's called smart bridge technology to connect to other blockchains. So a developer can create a blockchain currently in under an hour. In the future, it'll be much less time than that using the Ark deployer. But once they do that, then they can use the smart bridge to connect their blockchain to the Ark mainnet. That way they can grow their use case, grow their community, grow their user base without being concerned about their neighbor who also created an Ark blockchain infringing on their performance. Now, this also opens up a much more wide and open economic model because it gives freedom, total freedom and power to each individual community to customize their blockchain parameters as they wish and modify their code as they go, work on the core if they want to, and just have sovereignty, sovereignty so that they're not basically tenants of a mainnet landlord. We don't really like that idea at Ark. We want you to be in control, and we want the node runners that are running your nodes in your community network to be invested in your community directly, as opposed to Ethereum miners who just mine Ethereum and they don't care about your particular project. But with Ark, you can easily create your own network run by your own community who cycles that value back into your community using delegate services.
And Cryptosi, does that sound like particularly impressive to you? It certainly does to me.
Yeah, I can remember back when I first heard about Ark, which Ark, they had their rise not long after the project which I had most worked on, which is called PivX. Ark had its rise not long after that, so we were quite aware of where Ark were coming from when they were a small project and they grew up. I think with the ability to start a new blockchain in 60 seconds, where I got lost with it, which I didn't realize until I started to research on Ark for this podcast, was that I had always assumed that the blockchains that they claimed you could build in under an hour were similar to systems like Waves and Ethereum, where you had to rely on the mainnet. Now, not relying on the mainnet is a huge deal. We had our last guest from Validity. They moved away from Ethereum for that very reason. Trying to have thousands of projects on one mainnet and not run into scaling issues, I think it's pretty much impossible. I think it's kind of the real elephant in the room with projects like Ethereum. So I think it's awesome that you can build those blockchains and have them completely separate. And I can't stress enough how much value that brings, that sovereignty. I can't stress enough how much value that actually brings to a project.
Absolutely. And you mentioned some key points in that just off the bat, with projects getting to this conclusion that they're concerned about scaling, we're going to see that more. And I think in 2019, we're going to see that happening a lot more, where projects that are actually starting to succeed in a real way are now concerned about that and want to search for alternatives and ways to combat that problem. And Ark is well positioned to be right there as a really great choice. One thing that relates to is Ark's extensibility. We integrate with over 18 different programming languages, SDKs, to get developers very comfortable using Ark in whatever language they're comfortable with to enhance their blockchain. And so what we want to do is break people free from those chains that they're currently in, being under the thumb of the mainnet that they chose to go with, and give them their own country, their own blockchain ecosystem that they can use, and then give them highways and bridges to interact with the larger, greater ecosystem.
You've both mentioned delegates quite a lot so far. Justin, explain what delegates are to us and which is the most interesting one you've seen on the Ark network.
Yeah, sure. So delegates, beyond simply running nodes, also run valuable community services. Now, with the Ark mainnet, these services pertain to the Ark mainnet. So you'll have delegates that are, for example, running faucets, where you can visit a website and click a button and get a random small amount of Ark. We have other delegates that are running e-commerce platforms. We have yet other delegates who run bounty programs, which give everyone an equal opportunity to use their talents and skills to better the Ark ecosystem and receive Ark in return. So all of these really valuable community services kind of join together to add value to the network as well. One thing that I really love to promote with Ark and make sure that everyone knows is that Ark's main focus is to include everyone. Ark empowers everyone, regardless of their aim or technical background, to quickly and easily leverage blockchain technology. So even if you're not a coder, Ark has so many ways to get involved with the project in other ways, like graphic design, writing, compliance, anything really. And there are a lot of avenues that you can take to experience that feeling of being a part of the blockchain revolution. We don't want it to just be, people looking at a graph and wondering why they bought that and we don't know what it will do. We want people to have a reason to be excited today. And the delegates feel the same way. So it's within the delegates' hands to think of these creative ideas and launch services like this that excite people. And we really like that about the delegates.
Yeah, okay. Well, you've explained everything very well to us so far. So let's look ahead then. What does Ark have in store for 2019 and what are the main things on the roadmap?
This podcast has been brought to you by Rhubarb Media. Rhubarb Media are the branding specialists behind successful crypto projects such as PivX, Vendible, and Libertaria. The Rhubarb style is both loved and respected the world over. So if you want your project to appeal to techies and everyday users alike, give Rhubarb Media a try. You cannot possibly be disappointed. Link is in the description.
So the interesting thing is I first learned of Ark in late 2017. So Ark V1 was in full force and the peripherals were coming out with lightning speed. We had a lot of desktop wallet updates. A lot of the mobile wallet was released in late 2017. Ark has a mobile wallet you can grab on the Android and iOS store, easily, quickly send Ark to anyone with your phone. And all these other peripherals, the SDKs getting worked on, all these other things. In 2018, the focus shifted to Ark V2 and developing that code base. So it kind of went down deep into the caverns of development to work on those core processes, which happened throughout 2018. Now that that's been deployed ahead of 2019 and we have Ark v2 running smoothly on mainnet, we can get back to that rapid deployment of peripherals. We've already released a version 2 of our desktop wallet, beautiful wallet. Recommend that you check that out on ark.io. And other things that really enhance the overall value of what Ark is trying to bring technologically. Okay. So in 2019, we're going to be releasing a revamped white paper, which describes all key Ark concepts and lays out the technical groundwork for the new concepts that we're going to be working on, like the Ark virtual machine, also getting worked on for 2019. This will allow the person who's creating an Ark bridge chain, that's what we call another chain that's using Ark technology. We don't call them side chains because it makes them seem lesser. They're not. They're equal. So we call them bridge chains. So these bridge chains will have a powerful module called the Ark virtual machine, which will allow them to run smart contracts. And we also will have the Ark IPFS module, interplanetary file system module, moving in for 2019. That will allow them to have on-chain storage of large files that their blockchain might need to interact with in a decentralized fashion. And not only that, but we're going to deploy the Ark Deployer. Well, that's funny. We're going to deploy the Ark Deployer, a graphical user interface. This will allow people with less written coding knowledge to work on blockchain technology and deploy those in a visual environment, drag, drop, point, click, that kind of thing. And this is why Ark, the slogan of Ark is point, click, blockchain.
Okay, that's it. I tell you what, you've got a busy year ahead. What do you make of all that, Cryptosi?
Yeah, I think it's no surprise that they're not only are they going for some quite ambitious goals, but the goals that they're going for are the type of goals that a lot of the other top developing cryptos are going for as well. The main one I heard in there was the IPFS. I think that's a huge deal for blockchain moving forward. What that will do for the average user will be massive, because what it can deliver is media in the blockchain. So instead of having these ugly, horrible wallets, which we have now, where you open it up and you kind of just looking at text, basically, if we have IPFS linked directly into the blockchain, then you've got decentralized storage of media. And I think that'll be a massive deal. You'll be opening up your wallet. There could be tutorials in there for you as soon as you want to have them, and they could be being uploaded by other community members and ranked by them, things like that. It's just IPFS and blockchain together those two are a massive deal. For me personally, I think they're probably the biggest thing that we'll see this year. So I'm glad to hear that Ark.io are working towards it, and not really surprised at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, correct. And great points. Not only that, but the ability for the Ark technology to absorb use cases in the form of modules and plugins, that's a really cool approach, because think about it like this. Let's say that you do create a blockchain and you need to use services on that blockchain. So you need to use, for example, like Sia Coin to handle your IPFS needs, for example. So now you're interacting with the Sia Coin blockchain and paying fees to the Sia Coin blockchain. Your application is growing bigger and bigger, faster and faster, and Sia Coin is benefiting from lots and lots of fees from your community and network. But with Ark's approach, it's more like, no, we should just have a module that you can use in your community's network, so that the fees that get paid to the IPFS functions of your node runners, your delegates, goes right back into your community, and the value does not leak out. So I feel that because blockchains, they provide an interesting forum for discussing value, what value is, where value came from. We're doing that in a brand new way that's never really been done before, in my opinion. And I think that one of the main things to notice about this is blockchain's use cases and goals a lot of the time is siphon value from other projects. So Sia Coin, like we can use, and I'm not picking on Sia Coin, and I'm not saying Sia Coin's use case is weird or their approach or vision is bad. I'm saying the opposite. But it is interesting to notice that Sia Coin's essential economic and business model is get projects interested to use us for decentralized file storage. So they're acting as like a third party, right, to that network. But with Ark, it's more like, don't worry, because all the technology will be absorbed and glommed eventually, and the plugins and modules will grow in number so that you can do anything and everything you want within your own network and community and keep that value intact within your community.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear, actually, Justin. Now, you're obviously doing this podcast with us today, which is it's ITK Crypto, which is part of Smart Reach. Now, you do your own podcast as well, don't you? So, how's that going? And yeah, like, is it specifically about Ark, I suppose, as opposed to just crypto in general?
Yes, it's about Ark, but sometimes we do discuss more crypto-related, wider topics. Something that comes to mind on that note would be an episode I released a few weeks ago called 8 Things That Helped Me During Bear Market. It was just like some helpful tips of how I stay positive and optimistic throughout the bear market. Everybody really liked that episode. But the Ark Crypto Podcast is mostly about Ark, and you can learn about all the Ark concepts. Hear some interviews with the Ark team. Also, you can follow me around the country as I speak in different places. I spoke in Seattle at Blockchain Northwest. I spoke at the Las Vegas World CryptoCon. All of these types of talks are in the podcast too. And that website is thearkcryptopodcast.com, and you can subscribe on all these different platforms. So it's going really well. And if I have your permission, I'd love to syndicate this on my show so that I can get you guys some more listeners. Is that cool?
You absolutely have our permission. I assume that's okay, Cryptosi?
Yeah, that'll be great. I listened to a few of the episodes of the Ark Crypto Podcast just whilst doing research for this podcast, and yeah, it was great. The whole thing, I know I often talk up projects on ITK Crypto, but that's the reason why I asked them to come on. But I can't really talk up enough how easy it is to integrate with Ark. When I joined the Slack, I said, I want to find out who would do a podcast. Immediately, somebody said, well, ask this Justin guy. Justin was there within a flash, and we got it set up. When I was then looking into researching into Ark, the amount of content that there is, and I mean, the podcast is just one small part of it. There is a huge amount, an absolute wealth of knowledge around this project that you can just get to very easily. It really is something that I highly advise people who are into crypto to go and check out, and people who are involved in projects to also go and check out, because there are some things that I learned from Ark that I'll be taking over to other projects to say, look, guys, we can do things better if we do things a bit more like how these guys are doing it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I'd like to add that, that wealth of knowledge and information is definitely not an accident. Ark really wants to educate and inform everyone to get them into the space and make them feel comfortable. That's one thing I did notice when I was talking to like my friends and stuff about crypto is they're not so comfortable with it because they don't understand it quite to the degree that I do. And so with Ark, that's the goal, is to get them up to our level of understanding how it all works and make them feel comfortable and empowered to use this technology. So Ark has, beyond the podcast, Ark also has excellent documentation, which also teaches you about blockchains, but also shows you all the Ark modules, ways to interact with it, how to spin up your own blockchain and all that. That documentation is at docs.ark.io. That's always growing and evolving. Not only that, but I also started the Ark Community Committee, which is a way for anyone who doesn't know about coding to get involved and help. We create educational resources that people can use to learn about Ark. One of the big ones is a recent release of arktimeline.com that takes all of Ark's achievements and accomplishments of the last 2 years and more and puts them in one simple page that you can quickly see kind of what Ark's been doing and filter and sort that based on categories like I only want to see the wallet achievements, or I only want to see achievements about interoperability. You can do all that on arktimeline.com. And there's more projects coming out all the time with the Ark Community Committee. Anyone can join that by contacting me on the Ark official Discord at discord.ark.io.
All right, great stuff. Well, Justin, this is the question, the hardest question anyone ever gets asked, okay?
Okay.
Where do you see crypto being in 12 months' time from now?
Oh, okay. Got it. So just so you guys know, this is the first time I've ever been asked to see into the future and give my opinion. So I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. I'm going to do my best here. So the first thing I see in 12 months from now is a lot more people who don't know anything about coding actually helping. And it seems kind of weird, because 12 months ago, it was very speculative, and like I'm involved in this space because I have exchange accounts and I'm purchasing coins and I'm looking at graphs. Like that was the theme of late 2017 moving into 2018. But 12 months from now, what I see is people saying, oh yeah, I like crypto because I'm working with such and such project and I made a presentation for them and they paid me crypto. Or, oh yeah, I like crypto because I'm running a node using this blah, blah, blah network that's really easy for people to run a node if they don't know too much. And, oh, I like crypto because I'm doing a YouTube channel or a radio show about crypto. And I want to help other people learn about it. So I see a lot more participation. And I talk about that on the Ark YouTube channel, which is at youtube.ark.io, where I talk about mass participation. And the opportunities, like people think that the opportunities with crypto are the price will go up or the price is volatile and you can capitalize on that volatility. And yeah, like there is opportunity there to trade cryptocurrencies, but 95% of traders, they lose money. What I see the real value of crypto is in opportunity that didn't exist earlier to use your skills and talents to make a better life for yourself as an individual. And this is why I was so attracted to Ark, because there's so many ways to get involved and help and earn cryptocurrency. And so I think that that's going to catch on more. And as more people hear that their friends are getting an extra hustle, an extra side hustle of earning cryptocurrency by using the skills and talents they already have, that is going to catch on. And I think that is going to accelerate growth and the infrastructure getting innovation and larger communities getting formed, more interaction between different communities. This is where I see it going in the next 12 months.
Well, you've answered a very difficult question very well, Justin. So well
thank you.
I have got another one for you, though, which is always quite difficult to answer as well.
Sure.
Is if you had to go all in on a project, which one would it be?
Okay, so I think it stands to reason that I would say Ark first, but I don't want to misspeak in recommending that people purchase Ark. That's not really why I'm here. I'm just here to talk about what Ark can do for you in terms of the technology and ways to help and get involved. However, I personally do own a lot of Ark, and I've been getting into Ark throughout 2018, doing that dollar cost averaging thing. And I think it's safe to say that I'm pretty all in on Ark. Like I think about Ark all day, every day. I work on Ark all the time. I fly around the country for Ark. I do a lot of Ark stuff. So if you're talking about like you can't say Ark, then I would probably bring up a project that was recently on the Ark Crypto Podcast as an interview. This was like maybe a month or so ago that I've been following for about a year or so that I really like. I don't know if it's a good investment or not, and I'm not going to say that it is or isn't, but I like the concepts behind it. It's called Nexus. It's a very, very complicated blockchain. I'm sure that only a few people can understand how it really works, but it's aiming to be quantum resistant and also build a mesh network of satellites, cube satellites in space to give blockchain coverage over the world and beam down the blockchain two-way communication so you can send cryptocurrency to a ground station that beams it up to space. I think all of those things are pretty cool. There's more to learn, but that I suppose that's Nexus in a nutshell. It's not the best description, but it's a project I'm interested in.
No, people can look into it themselves. It's brilliant. Okay, Justin, that's been absolutely magnificent. It's great learning all about Ark. It sounds absolutely magnificent. I know Cryptosi's knows far more about it than me as well, and he was very excited about this one, and now I understand why. So it was really great to speak to you. Delighted to have you on. So I'd like to thank you again, and also thank you to Cryptosi.
Thanks. I can't thank you enough, Justin. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to you today. So Ark is a great project. It really is. It really is one of those gems. And I encourage people to do some more research on them and check you guys out.
Hey, it's been so much fun. You guys are great, and hopefully you'll invite me back in the future.
Absolutely. See you soon, Justin.
All right. Thank you very much.
This show is brought to you by PivX Private Instant Verified Transactions. With its groundbreaking zero-coin staking and masternodes, PivX is the top privacy currency. Feel free to trade some on Binance or Bittrex. And for more information, go to www.pivex.org.